Fight! Good Saturday evening, South Carolina weather watchers. I'm your meteorologist, Joseph Peterson, and let's go in and talk about the weather for your Saturday evening going into your future. We have a lot of stuff to talk about for tonight, like as you can see on the screen right now. A second cold front could trigger more severe weather. We're going to get into the models. We're going to talk about what type of severe weather, what the main threat could be, and how that's going to potentially affect our temperatures as we move throughout next week. Because next week and just the future in in terms of temperatures just looks all over the place right now. So we're gonna get into that. And then as we go on and move over into our what's on tap screen, we're going to talk about still our locally heavy rainfall possible through tomorrow as a stalled front remains near the low country. Clouds and rain keep highs near or below normal. Hotter conditions return midweek, Tuesday, Wednesday, and strong to severe storm risk rise also on Tuesday to Wednesday ahead of the cold front, damaging winds, the primary hazard. So if you have not hit the like button yet or the subscribe button yet, please go in and do so. Right now, we've had around a good couple of people tune in tonight, and we only have 2 likes. So if you're a part of that group that have not hit the like button yet, please go in and do so. It's free, and it always will be. Now, in terms of our current condition, what's currently going on throughout the state of South Carolina, what we see, we do have some rainfall going on up there inside of the upstate. You can see over here near Greenville, near Easley, and also just to the west of Simpsonville, we have some showers, some storm potential going on over there in the upstate. You move over into the Midlands, some more rainfall kind of moving their way over there. And then even as you move over here in the low country, you have some rainfall going on all the way over into the PD areas, the Grand Strand areas, and then also over here in the low country, we have some shower and some heavy rainfall activity. In fact, may even be some half-inch hail included in there. At least that's what the radar currently is saying for both of these cells that could potentially be producing half an inch in diameter hail. 20% up here for the northern one up near St. George, and then one down over here near Grover that has a 40% risk. Now, as we go in and see what's going on throughout the entire U.S., we have a bunch of stuff going on. Rather it be down here in the southeast where we have some storm activity going on. We have some more storm activity in New York, and then also some storm activity over here inside of the west. But I think what a lot of people are paying attention to is over there in South Dakota. South Dakota, there is indeed a severe thunderstorm watch, but a PDS, which is a particularly dangerous situation tornado watch over, or not tornado watch, severe thunderstorm watch over here inside of the eastern parts of South Dakota. Even as you go into the northern parts of South Dakota, there is a PDS severe thunderstorm watch for these areas, and so that is for obviously some of those winds being up 90, plus or so. They're saying around 75, 90 miles per hour. As scattered significant gusts of up to 100 miles per hour is likely in areas of South Dakota. So, if you know anybody in South Dakota, especially the eastern parts, Watertown, Brookings, Sioux Falls, let them know severe thunderstorms, of up to 100 mile per hour winds is possible. And then over here in Montana, there is some more severe weather over there as well. Now, in terms of cloud cover, we do have cloud cover statewide, no matter where you are from the upstate all the way down towards the low country and then the Grand Strand areas. We are seeing cloud cover. And then for your cloud cover for the future, you push this over into tonight, going over into tomorrow morning, and you're still seeing a good amount of cloud cover activity even as you move to around 11 a.m. all the way to 1 o'clock p.m. or so. And then as you go more into around Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, moving into Monday, getting to Monday morning here, more cloud cover, just more and more and more. But one thing I will say is as we move into Sunday night, going into Monday morning, things seem to clear out a little bit, so a little bit of a clearing for a good amount of us, and things may even be mostly clear at times. But as we move more into like the 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, morning hours on Monday, things just kind of continue to get back to the cloudy conditions. So that's just what we're looking at right now in terms of our cloud cover for the future. Currently, in terms of temperatures, we're talking about 82 in Summerville, 83 Charleston, 85 Beaufort, even 79 in Georgetown, 78 Myrtle Beach, and 77 in Conway. Florence at 77, 82 Columbia, even 80 in Newberry, 79 in Greenville, 78 Spartanburg, Gaffney, York, and Rock Hill. Air quality for tonight, it looks like that the majority of us continuing to stay inside that good category, but good amount of us could also be in that moderate category if you're over there in Charleston, North Charleston, moving over into the western areas of Charleston County, could be in that moderate area. And then also Spartanburg going down I-26 toward I-385, another area of moderate air quality over there. Now, what does moderate mean? Means not too good, not too bad either, so just make sure that you are paying attention for that air quality if you're in these areas. Low temperatures for tonight, we're talking about 69 in Spartanburg, 68, Rock Hill, even 72 in Columbia. Sumter also at 72, same as Orangeburg. 72 in Walterboro, Moncks Corner, and 75 in Charleston. 73, Myrtle Beach, and 78 in Hilton Head Island. Now for our high temperatures for tomorrow, we're talking about 88 in Greenville, 88 in Newberry, 89 Columbia, Orangeburg, 88 in Moncks Corner and Charleston, 87 Georgetown, 85 in Myrtle Beach, and 92 in Hilton Head Island. Now, for the heat index values for tomorrow, overall, things don't look too bad. Overall, you're looking at the majority of that heat index values, the highest towards the west. Aiken, Hilton Head Island being around 103 all the way up to 108. And some areas may reach 110 tomorrow. I mean, it's possible for sure. Rainfall as we move throughout the next 24 hours as well looks pretty promising for a lot of us, but especially down there in those low country areas. Half an inch to an inch over there for areas like Walterboro going into Moncks Corner, Charleston, Hilton Head Island, and then other areas like quarter of an inch to half an inch in Georgetown, all the way over to Orangeburg and Barnwell, tenth of an inch to a quarter of an inch in Rock Hill, Columbia, Aiken, and also in Sumter, and then 100th of an inch to a tenth of an inch in Greenville, going over into Laurens, Newberry, Dillon, and Florence. So there is a good amount of activity that is going on as we move throughout the next 24 hours, and I do believe that a lot of this activity will ring out all the way into tomorrow. Now, for the SPC outlook here, we're talking about just regular thunderstorm activity that's possible here for today, tonight, going into early tomorrow. I mean, not too bad at all. Not really too bad, but tomorrow, things get a little bit more intense. We have a marginal risk of severe weather for tomorrow. That is for isolated damaging winds of up to 60 miles per hour. So if you're in the dark green area, you have a 5% risk of damaging winds. And if you're in the light green, just a regular risk of thunderstorm activity, nothing too bad at all. Now, as we go on and take a look at day 3, which is Monday, everybody just has a regular risk of thunderstorm activity, nothing severe there. Now, as we go on and take a look over into the excessive rainfall outlook, because obviously this is a big portion of the forecast that's going to still be taking shape as we move into next week. We start off tonight still with that slight risk of excessive rainfall over there for the eastern parts of the state. If you're in the yellow, you have a 15% risk, and if you're everywhere else, you're in the green, you have a 5% risk of flash flooding for tonight. Now, tomorrow, things kind of shift, more inland, a little bit more inward, I should say. And you look towards like Columbia, Florence, going to Georgetown, all the low country, all of the southern Midlands, we're looking at a 5% risk of flash flooding over the next, over tomorrow going into Monday morning. Then as we move into Tuesday, or Monday, this is Monday right here. Monday, nothing. Tuesday, nothing. Wednesday, we have a little risk of some isolated flash flooding down there for Port Royal, down near Hilton Head Island and Hardeeville. But again, not too bad there at all. Now for the crazy score. If you have no idea what the crazy score is, it is a score that we see how active the conditions are throughout the entire state of South Carolina. And we're at a 20 out of 100, so a fifth of the way there to 100. Not going to reach it, but, something just to keep an eye on and see. Mild weather activity across South Carolina, low country showers and storms. But overall, nothing too concerning at the moment. And I think, like it said, the major reason why it's all the way up to 20 is just because of the active condition that we have right now inside of the low country. Charleston right now, at least the downtown area is moving around in that area. There's showers and storms. I hear storms right now over here inside the low country right now as we speak. And also cloud cover builds into it as well. So we're looking at a lot of things kind of go from here and there. But it takes a overall consensus of what is going on throughout a lot of these areas, from Charleston over towards St. George, over towards Andrews and Georgetown, where, there are showers in those areas. And then also up there in the upstate near Piedmont, South Carolina, the actual town of Piedmont, not the Piedmont area. So let's go on now and take a look at the models. Time is at the bottom part of your screen. Please make sure that you go in and pay attention to that, as that is very, 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 very important to do so. And if you lose track of where we are on the models, there's a good chance that you may not understand what's going on or the timing. So we're going to start off here at 8 o'clock p.m. As we go on and push this forward into tonight, later on, you see a lot of shower and storm activity gets going all the way to 12 a.m. Yes, you may hear thunder tonight, even at 12 o'clock in the morning. You move over into 3 a.m., 4, 5, 6 a.m. You're still seeing heavy rainfall going on. That could definitely go into Sunday morning commute. That could definitely cause some problems there. As you move all the way to 8 a.m., 9 a.m., but you see kind of a bit more spread out, more scattered, not really too widespread at all. But heavy rainfall that goes all the way through 9 a.m. all the way to 12 p.m. But I think once we get more into like the early afternoon hours here at 1 p.m., things start to calm down a little bit. We're not seeing too much of widespread precipitation according to the 18Z here. That was last updated at 3 p.m. today. But if we go on and push this over to 4 to 5 p.m., even, 2 p.m., 2 p.m., looks like some shower and some storm activity starts to fire back up. And then as you move to around 3 to 4 p.m., now we're looking at, honestly, activity that goes from each region, from upstate to low country to Grand Strand areas. We're looking at a good amount of thunderstorm activity throughout these time frames here. And then as you move over into around 6 o'clock p.m. all the way to 8, 9, 10, things continue to kind of just settle in, but it goes away after a while to around like 2 o'clock in the morning, moving all the way to 6 o'clock in the morning on Monday. And Monday honestly starts off looking pretty good. Monday, even going to like the early afternoon hours may not even be that bad. So I think as we move throughout Sunday's going to be our last day to where we're talking about, this heavy, severe weather threat. And also, severe weather threat, look at 6 p.m. A lot of those storms that you see in those areas for tomorrow evening could cause some severe storms to occur. But like I said, as you move throughout Monday looks a lot drier just in general, so that's something good to keep an eye on, as we can just get some relief from this shower and storm activity. Now, what about for our long term? So we're going to talk about the long-term precipitation totals here and the long-term models here just to see what's going on. But watch as we go into Monday. Monday kind of, things don't really look too bad here. We go over into Tuesday, some more rainfall kind of going on. But overall, just not really that bad at all. Thursday, Friday, and our risk of severe weather comes in on Wednesday, which if we go in and check it out, or Tuesday it starts off. And we have a slight risk of severe weather up there for Rock Hill going over into areas of the northern PD, even over towards northern Spartanburg counties and northern Greenville counties. We have a couple of areas that have that slight risk, that 15% risk of damaging storms as you move there. Now, there's only a main problem. There's one big problem that I kind of have with this, and that is if we go in and take a look at the GFS real quick. And as we move over into the afternoon, I guess we have some showers moving in. We have some storms trying to maybe move in later on. But the convection for me isn't really all there. And, like I said, I know that this is a long-term model. This is meant for the long term. Right now, this model right here the GFS doesn't really support too much in terms of a full-on severe weather system trying to move in. Like North Carolina, I think North Carolina may have a higher chance of severe weather than what we do. And then even if we go on and move later to around 11 p.m. all the way into Wednesday, another risk of thunderstorm activity tries to come in as well. And as we move throughout the week in general, shower, storm activity continues for us all the way through into next weekend. We move over into Monday, all the way over into Tuesday and Wednesday. And it just stays active for us, even as we move into like August the 10th, for example. Rainfall activity for us just stays here and just stays active for us throughout early August. Now, as we go in and take a look at our severe weather ingredients for Tuesday, because obviously, convection, if we don't have the rainfall, that's already a big hit. But, another thing is looking at is to seeing if we have the moisture. And we do have the moisture. The moisture is there, so that's not a problem. Usually we look for height for when it comes to tornadoes, not really for like a damaging wind threat, but we do have some upper winds, kind of moving a little bit, 40 knots, up to around, 30 to 40 knots or so. And then if we go in and take a look at our CAPE levels, it also looks like that we are, pretty high up there as well. in terms of Cape. We go over into Tuesday night there, and we see some areas around 1,000 plus, around 1,000 plus, and we have a marginal severe tab there. Not just not just a regular severe tab, but just a marginal severe tab for a lot of these areas. So, well, actually, no, right here that what I did just get a severe sounding over here towards the northern part. So the ingredients are in place, for damaging wind threat to occur. It definitely is in place for it to happen. The main thing is number one, is it going to be, is it going to be hot enough? And we know that it's going to be hot, kind of moving into Tuesday a little bit. I mean, we're all the way up to 100 degrees or so. Even as you move into 11 o'clock in the morning, you're already trying to get into the 90s in some spots. And also kind of cloud cover as well kind of adds in, because if we see some clearing going on, that also could kind of aid in, but if we see cloud cover a bit earlier, they may hinder the effects a little bit. So there are a lot of things that go into severe weather, but overall, I mean, the chance is there, the ingredients are there. I'm really just wondering, will the convection be there? Now, as we go in and take a look at how much rainfall we could potentially receive over the next 380 hours, right now, according to the GEFS or the GFS ensemble, looks like that we are inside of a average or inside of an average around maybe 2 inches to maybe even up to around 3.5, 4 inches of rainfall or so over the next 384 hours. So that's what the GEFS says. The European, bit more on the same train actually, maybe a bit more or a bit less broad, maybe around an inch, or an inch and about 3/4, if not a little bit more, up to around 2 inches, or as a minimum. And then as you move over into the low country areas, the Grand Strand areas, you're looking at around 3.5 inches of rainfall over the next 360 hours. So, I mean, we're looking at a good amount of rainfall here throughout the next 360 hours that could definitely attribute and definitely help out, to get rid of this drought here in the state of South Carolina. And so, not going to deny the rainfall. Hopefully, it does happen, and hopefully, we get a good amount, because I know that a lot of people did not really get hit too hard, or as hard as they thought they were going to get hit, from this, from this flooding threat as we move into, yesterday going over into today. Not too many people were hit with it, like they thought that they would. And so some areas barely got around, 2/10 of an inch. Some areas, only got around 3/10 of an inch. And, a lot of people really just did not get a lot. Even at my house, for example, I got 0.13 today. And then yesterday I got about 0.27. So that's zero point 0.4. That is 4/10 of an inch of rain over the forecasted, totals of an inch or two plus. So even at my house, we did not get a lot of rainfall. Now, there is more coming our way over here in the Tri-County area. But, I mean, overall, from what we were expecting, not much rainfall fell like we thought. Now, there was a couple of areas that did get, a couple of inches of rainfall, so I'm not saying that everybody did not get a lot of rainfall from this event, but there was, at least, I think almost for the half, if not the majority of us, didn't really get as much rainfall as we thought. And one thing that we can look at is the observation, seeing how much rainfall fell over the past, let's say, 24 hours. And like I said, you see a lot of areas that maybe got to around an inch or 2 inches of rainfall, maybe even some areas even more. But look how many areas, in the Columbia area, barely a tenth. Some areas got barely a tenth of an inch. Look in areas near Florence, not even, barely any accumulation. Greenville only got a tenth of an inch. Sumter only got a tenth of an inch. But then look down there near Myrtle Beach, 1.5 inches of rainfall. So a lot of areas did not get a whole lot of rainfall. Now, let's go in and talk about temperatures, because obviously I know for when it does come to a cold front, not only does it come to the damaging aspect of it, but also the temperature aspect that a lot of people may not really think about too much. And so as we move over into Monday, moving over into Tuesday, obviously you can see that we are going to be above average in terms of temperatures. And then as we go over into Wednesday, there goes that cold front moving through, going to Wednesday night. We go into Thursday, and Thursday, instead of us being 10 to 15 degrees above average, it looks like we're more around 5 to 10 degrees above average on Thursday. So still, I guess a bit more lower, but not really too much of a cool down. So the GFS here doesn't really say too much in terms of, a full cooldown as we move later on. Now, as you move over into Friday, or even into Saturday, I mean, another cold blast could try to move through as we move through Saturday, going into Sunday and Monday. So as we go into later parts of next week, going into early parts of the week after next week, things could really start to cool down a lot. And as we go over into the next weekend after next, which is August the 10th or August the 8th and the 9th or so, those warm temperatures come back. So really the thing that I'm trying to watch for here is the timing. What's the timing of these cold fronts looking like? What's the timing of these storms trying to come in? Because that all matters here. That all matters because if you have a cold front that moves in, next week, one that moves in the week after, or if you have one move in next week and then one move in, later on next week, that could really change how the temperatures shape up as we move throughout the next 300 plus hours or so. Now, what are our actual temperatures looking like? Well, if we start off here at tonight going into tomorrow, we're looking at, highs tomorrow up into the 80s and 90s. We go over into Monday, though. Monday, first day back over into the hundreds once again. We move over into Tuesday. Even Wednesday, gets pretty hot. But Thursday comes along and, we're still seeing temperatures up into the upper 90s. So, a cold front does come in on Wednesday going into Thursday, but it's a very weak one, and it doesn't really provide too much relief from the heat as we move later on into next week. But like I said, watch as we move into Friday and Saturday. Look at Saturday, highs in the mid 80s. We go into Sunday. Oh, I did not mean to do that. Hold on, excuse me. Let me get that out the way. There we go. All right, back to here though. You move over into Sunday. Going into, Sunday afternoon, going into Monday, we still see some temperatures up into the 90s, but overall, things don't really look too, bad compared to, upper 90s, mid 90s, until we finally get back into around like August the 5th or so, and then we get back up into the upper 90s once again. So things do get just honestly wild, just in general, as temperatures flare up from going to, in the upper 90s to the upper 80s instead. And then in terms of the heat index values, as we move over into Monday overall, we're up into the hundreds. Going into Tuesday, back up to the hundreds. Even Wednesday and Thursday, we're trying to get up with some hundreds, but doesn't really get too much to around like 110 or so, to 112. Now, I think the National Weather Service has mentioned Tuesday and Wednesday to be up to around 110, 112 possible. It says possible, so not likely, not expected, but possible. So the possibility is there, but it's not really too likely according to the GFS right now. So, I see a couple of spots around 105, 106. I see a couple of other spots around 102. So, 110, 112. I mean, it's possible, but right now I'm not really too likely on it right now. But things can change. Things can definitely change. And then finally, before we go on and talk with the audience, let's go on and check and see what's going on with our mean temperatures during the next 200 hours, and we'll look at the tropics real quick. But as we go on and move this through into the week after next week, we're seeing those temperatures kind of just stay and average out into the mid 90s and kind of just stay there, even as we move later on into August. Overall, it just kind of just stays in the mid 90s as an average. And so I think that also kind of does mean that the anomalies and the actual deterministic models and the members put together kind of maybe have a bit of a discrepancy in terms of the actual timing of the cold front, because if they were all put at one time, we start to see those averages kind of start to drop. But since they kind of have us in the mid 90s, like there's no cool down at all, that may kind of reason, is number one, is the cold temperatures is not doing a lot, or number two is, the timing for all of these members, are they all kind of just not really together? And so that's the question that we're going to have to figure out once we get closer and closer. Now, what's going on in terms of the National Hurricane Center? No updates. Looking good over the next 7 days, and we're tropical storm hurricane free. And that's all that I have to say here throughout the official forecast for tonight. So let's go on and talk with the audience. If you want to be a part of the audience, you can by joining us here at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Let's see what the audience has to say here for tonight. Starting off with my Aunt Lula, who was here first, says, "Good evening, everyone. I pray that everyone had a wonderful day today." Well, I did. Thank you so much for asking. Today's high in Georgetown was 84, currently at 77. We had a nice day, not too hot, just right. Cloud cover was 86%. No rain, but it looks like some is on the way. And yeah, over there inside of Georgetown, uh, you probably are receiving rainfall right now. You see Georgetown's all covered in green, so you probably have some rain kind of falling over towards your area right now as we speak. I noticed more severe weather is on the way. I meant second cold front could trigger more severe weather. Yeah, more severe weather is on the way for a couple of people in the state. And then my Nana says, "Hello, Jane all. Hello to you. Fairly nice day that I enjoyed. I haven't felt good today. It finally stopped raining a few minutes ago. Well, hopefully feel better tomorrow. And glad that you're able to enjoy the day. And thanks for the weather report over where you are." Epiphany World says, "Good evening. This crazy weather has me in an arthritis flare-up." Well, sorry to hear that as well. But again, hopefully as you move towards the beginning part of the week, especially Monday, things are going to get a lot more drier and a lot more warmer as well. Sunday though, Sunday is going to be raining once again, bringing some more severe weather activity. And that's all that I can see here throughout the chat for tonight. So we're going to go on real quick and give out the top fan question of the night for tonight. You might be asking, top fan question, what am I talking about? I'm talking about how I go on and ask a question and we see who was paying attention. If you get the question correct that I ask first, you will be the top fan of the night for tonight. I'm pretty sure Epiphany World got it correct last night. So we're going to go on real quick and check and see what the main question for tonight's going to be. And I kind of want to do it with cloud cover. And with cloud cover, I asked the question and I said that there may be a clearing point to where the state of South Carolina may be briefly mostly clear. What time frame was that? And when I say what time frame, I mean, like Sunday afternoon, Monday morning, Tuesday afternoon, Saturday evening, Saturday night, late night, that's what I mean by time frame. So what time frame was it that I said during the cloud cover segment that cloud cover could potentially start to kind of thin out a little bit, and we may be mostly clear for a little minute there. Let's see. Milo says I live in the country, so there's no rain here yet. Oh, so you don't live like directly inside of Georgetown, okay? But yeah, I'm assuming maybe towards the southern parts then maybe. But anyways, we have a couple of areas to talk about outside of South Carolina. I might be asking, areas outside of South Carolina. What's that? I'm talking about San Antonio, Texas, Raleigh, North Carolina, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, as well as Duncan, Oklahoma. The reason why we talk about these 4 areas because we have people from these areas who tune in almost nightly, and because they tune in almost nightly, we go in and give them their forecast for them. And so we're going to start off with San Antonio first. Low temperatures tonight at 76. High temperatures for tomorrow at around a good 96, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 77. No precipitation tonight. Tomorrow, no severe weather for you either. And then in terms of excessive rainfall, nothing as you move throughout the next 5 days there. So you're good in terms of severe weather and excessive rainfall, and you're good in terms of precipitation. I mean, no precipitation over the next 7 days is expected. You are looking just very hot. 100 degrees on Tuesday, to maybe even 99 degrees on Wednesday. Now, in terms of the next location, being Raleigh, North Carolina, you have low temperatures tonight at 66, high temperatures for tomorrow at 85, low temperatures tomorrow night at 69, no precipitation tonight or tomorrow, but tomorrow night, you do have a chance of thunderstorm activity. No severe weather is expected until Tuesday. Tuesday, you have a 15% risk of severe weather, so damaging storms is possible for you. Damaging storms is possible for you over there in Raleigh. Now, excessive rainfall wise, you do have a risk also on Tuesday for some isolated flash flooding as well. So that's also something to keep an eye on, to pay attention to. And then for your future, temperatures will continue to stay in the 90s for you. Tomorrow will be probably your last day in the 80s before you get back up into the 90s. And then overall rainfall chances for Tuesday going over into Tuesday night and Sunday night, those 3 time frames are your only chance of precipitation. Well, other than that, you're looking pretty dry for you. Then as we move over into the chat, let's check out and see. My Aunt Lou says Monday morning, and I mean, technically, it is early Monday morning, more like Sunday night, but I mean, technically, it was around 2, 3 a.m., so I think I can count that. So first try, first answer, and you already got it correct. So let's give my Aunt Lou a round of applause for winning it for tonight. If you want to be like my Aunt Lula and win the top fan of the night for tonight, you have to be a subscriber, and you also have to be here early, so you can get all the information, because you never know. I could ask a question from the beginning at 8 p.m. or I can ask one all the way to like 8:25, 8:30. So it can happen at any time. Also, if you submit a photo at scweather360.com, that may win you something as well. That may win you top fan of the night, or maybe if you were here first, that may also win you a prize for tonight as well, or for any night that I choose. Which I'm thinking of doing that soon, so just, keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, maybe. Now for Philadelphia, being the third of the locations, being low temperatures tonight at 62. High temperatures for tomorrow at 86. Low temperatures tomorrow night at 67. No precipitation tonight or tomorrow, but going into Monday onward, it looks like rainfall for you is going to be possible. Even some thunderstorm activity is possible for you. Now, in terms of severe weather and excessive rainfall, overall things look pretty active for you, especially on Tuesday. Tuesday, slight risk of severe weather there. And then in terms of excessive rainfall, on Tuesday and Wednesday, isolated flash flooding is possible for you. Now, for your future, overall, you're going to be still in the 80s, and even as you go into tomorrow may be like one of your last dry days until, maybe Thursday or Friday of next week. And then finally for Duncan, Oklahoma, you have low temperatures tonight at 77, high temperatures for tomorrow at 102. Low temperatures tomorrow night at 76. Tomorrow could potentially feel up to 107 degrees. And then it's just going to stay hot. I mean, you're going to be in the 100s all the way through into next week. And so just continue to keep that in mind. And then it's going to also remain dry as well. And that's all that I can say here throughout the official forecast here for those 4 areas. So let's see what's going on throughout the entire U.S. weather news-wise. Flash flooding threatens areas from the Tennessee valleys to the Carolinas as storms repeat along a stalled front. Monsoonal storms may also trigger flooding in the southwest. Dangerous heat expands across the desert southwest, the plains, and the mid-Mississippi Valley, and the southern tier. Critical fire weather for the interior Pacific Northwest, and cooler and drier air brings relief to the Great Lakes in the Northeast. So, pretty much exactly what was said yesterday, I believe. I don't think they really changed too much. Heat continues in the Century West over into the Midwest and the upper Great Lakes. Flooding threatens down here in the southeast. Flood threat down here in the southeast. Dangerous heat over there in the desert southwest, over inside of the Pacific Northwest. Some fire conditions over there for the Pacific Northwest, and then cooler, drier air in the Great Lakes, the more southern, the more eastern Great Lakes, I should say, over into the Northeast. So, yeah. Overall, just weather, active weather, wild weather everywhere. Doesn't matter where you go. You're going to be seeing something, rather if it's insane heat or flooding potential. And then, obviously, there is that risk of severe weather down there in South Dakota where 100-mile-per-hour wind is possible as you move over into tonight. And that's just for tonight. Tomorrow, there's a risk up there inside of the northern Midwest, the northern Great Lakes as well, over into the northern central U.S., and then over there for areas like Chicago, Detroit, going into Springfield, Illinois, down into Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Those areas have a risk of severe weather on Monday, and then as you move over into day 4, that's our day for the northern parts, North Carolina, Virginia, going all the way into Washington, D.C., Maryland, all the way down into Philadelphia and southern New Jersey, where there is a risk of severe weather for damaging winds as you move over into Tuesday. And that's all they have to say here throughout the forecast here for the entire U.S. Let's see if we have anything else. Mount Lewis says now it's raining here. Well, thank you so much for that report. And then honorable mentions. My Nana was the only one for tonight, so let's go ahead and give her a round of applause for being the honorable mention for tonight. That was the honorable mention for the top fan of the night for tonight. But that's all they have to say here. Make sure that you tune in tomorrow morning for your Sunday morning forecast update. Also tomorrow evening for your Sunday evening forecast update. The week forecast, the last week of July. That forecast is tomorrow night, 8 o'clock p.m. Make sure that you are there for that. And then as you go into next week, in 7 days exactly, 8 o'clock p.m., the August 2026 forecast will also be out. So a lot of things to look forward to. But again, all starts tomorrow night with the final week of July forecast update going into early August. I'll be back then. Hit those 2 buttons before you leave if you're new. And make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button. We're at 782, trying to get to that main goal of 800. Make sure you go to scweather360.com, my official website. Hit those 2 buttons before you leave.